That, that sense of person-directed makes more sense to me. You'll find your own metaphors, and maybe my worry about the isolated person issuing orders was just my misunderstanding of it, but I think we've got something to think about there. So we got some things to learn. We got some things to learn. One of them is, I think if I've been listening well, how to create and protect space to simply be with people. And that's not efficient, right? That is not at all efficient. That is probably a poor use of the taxpayers' money, and if the taxpayers find out, they'll tar and feather us. So by God, we're not going to waste time with people. The spirit of Ubuntu is a spirit of wasted time, right? It's a spirit of hanging out. It's a spirit of figuring out, okay, we've talked about this enough. Now we all got to get up and go out and God help us try to do something that probably won't come out exactly the way we want or even maybe close. But we got to be counted. We got to be out there and have a go. So we need to create and protect space to be with one another. And we've got to create space to protect the real time that it takes for real change to happen. We've also, Judith McGill named something for me that I've been really struggling with for a long time, and I'm very grateful. When she talked yesterday about how to re-story hardened stories, stories that people with disabilities themselves and families themselves sometimes, and certainly often staff people, have internalized that kind of set the limits, not out there, but in us. And how we help people to, how we help each other to discover new narratives, not just about us as individuals, but more importantly about us in common, about what do we want to create together, what do we want to make happen together. So we need to learn about that. We've also got a lot of people whose stories are just shrunk, right? People have like shrunk life down to fit inside what's on offer, and how we kind of ignite imagination around that. Seems like an important thing to keep learning more about. We need to figure out how to encourage each other, so we've got the courage to stand up and try stuff. We got to figure out, we said to each other, this isn't my agenda, this is my version of what I heard from everybody. We got to figure out how to tell our stories more influentially. Some of our stories you kind of have to be an insider to get, right? So we need to figure out how to make our stories bigger, because it's pretty clear, it's increasingly clear to me as my birthdays go by, that lots of the issues that our society is facing and the unsustainability of our current system, and particularly the logic of our current system, is rooted in the demands of elders, right? There's way more elders who become disabled in consequence of aging than there are people with developmental disabilities. And so that's what's scaring the crap out of our systems all over the world. It isn't us. We're just kind of swept along in the, in the wake of all this worry about us old guys blowing the budget. So we need to figure out how to tell our stories, because there's quite a lot that folks who support elders can learn. And then there's the question of our own elders, the folks with developmental disabilities whose need for support suddenly goes way up. And then somebody might decide they have to move into some kind of facility or other, because that's where you go when you have that level of need. That's truly, truly scary. So we need to figure out ways to better align public expenditure with the vast variety of lives that people would value living. We've said over and over again, there's no one way to be a contributing citizen. There's no one way to be a person. That's not what we're about. But we have a service system all over North America, all over the developed world that wasn't developed to support individuals. Nobody was thinking about that. I know about that a little bit in Canada because I was hanging out at the National Institute on, then called Mental Retardation, when we were dreaming up what a comprehensive community service system ought to look like. And it was all about groups of people. It wasn't about supporting individual people. In 1970, we were figuring we were doing a hell of a job if we just didn't have people in big, awful institutions. So we need to reimagine public investments that would genuinely support, and we know how to do that. You know how to do that here in Ontario pretty well. It's just a question of trusting people enough to genuinely give them the money. We have to keep expanding the number of people who benefit. We need to keep asking ourselves, who am I not meeting as I'm doing these plans? What about those folks where we've made a trade-off between technology and preserving knowledge? So we have this epidemic, apparently, of G-tubes, right? As opposed to preserving the knowledge and the skill that's required to position people, to help people to eat in a enjoyable way, right? We don't want to stop at not choke. We want to get to, this was a great meal. And we had, terrific contact in it. How do we make sure that we're not losing people? So, 3 threads. Recognizing the dignity of vulnerable humanity, recognizing how much we need each other, and that's not a sort of sappy, hippie, leftover idea, but the most fundamental reality of human survival. And letting our hunger for justice encourage us to act. William Stafford's poem, The Thread. There is a thread you follow. It goes among things that change, but it doesn't change. People wonder about what you're pursuing. You have to explain about the thread, but it's hard for others to see. When you hold it, you can't get lost. Tragedies happen, people get hurt or die, and you suffer and get old. Nothing you can do can stop time's unfolding. You don't ever let go of the thread.
Well, this isn't exactly fair. Thank you, John. And I'm actually up to give thanks to those who came out today and coordinated, and a whole bunch of people. But before I give thanks, I'd just like to take a couple minutes, since I am the timer, to say a few words. So my name's Selena, and I'm here from the Individualized Funding Coalition for Ontario. That is part of me in my hunger for justice. So I'd like to say, in continuing the conversations, as Marlon had said, and referring to John in his saying about the hunger for justice, we do need to continue to come together and continue conversations. Over the past couple days, there are a few things that sparked and ignited me. A couple of those things is intention, good intention. Another thing is waking up. And another thread, let's say, is rules, or in my case, breaking the rules or bending the rules. I happen to be a rule breaker, and apparently there's lots of rule breakers in here, as you guys cheered when Mary Kovacs told me, no, I get more time. So in saying that, I'd like to just say tell you a little story about a couple people who I know who are close to me and who decided to bend the rules, which woke me up and reminded me about what good intentions might mean sometimes and the pitfalls of good intention. So I was invited to my friend's cottage, myself and my son, and we were at the cottage, and my friend had her niece with her, who happens to be a friend of my son also. So we're headed off to the beach, and my son EJ knows that there's rules when Sydney is using her manual wheelchair. There's rules when we're out together. What you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to act, you need to be careful, so forth and so on. So we're walking to the beach, and I'm with my friend Jackie, and we're walking in front, and Sydney and Elijah are behind me, and Elijah is pushing Sydney's wheelchair. And we're headed toward a hill, and we're going down the hill, and I'm thinking, he knows the rules, so everything's going to be fine. All of a sudden, EJ and Sydney dart past us. They're speeding. This is against the rules. And they dart, and they're going down, down, down the hill and into a ditch. Well, my heart stopped. I don't know if you'd call that waking up or cardiac arrest, but my heart stopped. All I knew is this is major trouble. My friend is never, ever, ever, ever going to have us back to the cottage. What happened to Sydney? Oh my God. And EJ, of course, known to be a terrorist, is again breaking all kinds of rules. Well, we approach the ditch. Sydney and Elijah are both in the ditch, hysterically laughing. Laughing, laughing, laughing. And all Jackie and I could do is turn to each other and laugh. See, our good intentions were, we need to keep Sydney safe. We need to explain the rules to Elijah so that Sydney doesn't get hurt. But what that was doing was impeding on a relationship, obviously. It was impeding on play. And Sydney and Elijah decided they're taking their power back. And they are going to be however they're supposed to be at 8 and 10 years old. And I woke up that day. I woke up. I woke up to what it means to be in relationship. I woke up to what it means to somehow know that our good intentions aren't always that good. So now I'd like to thank some people. I would like to thank the OIFN Planning Group. I would like to thank the ministry for the grant to have this event. I would like to thank the conference working group. I would like to thank the coordinator for the conference, Judith McGill. Thank you. I would also like to thank our facilitator, Jack Peeler. I would like to thank the speakers for their spontaneity over the past 2 days and even before. They have been amazing. They have pitched in more than you would even realize in putting this all together. So a gracious thank you. And of course, thanks to all of you, to everyone, for being here, for being open to thinking differently, for being open to doing things a little differently, to being open to stretching, and to being open to just sometimes being a little bit uncomfortable. So I'd hope that now when we go back to our neighborhoods where we live, we can think about what do we need to do to wake up? What do we need to do to think a little bit differently? What can I do in my own neighborhood? Who do I know who might challenge me a little bit? Who might challenge my opinions, my assumptions? Who's across the road that I can get to know? What can I do in my own neighborhood? So, thanks to all.
So two last things that we'd like to do before we start to disperse. Is it? Judith is going to formally end the day with a poem in a few minutes. When we had our last break, we were suggesting that everyone grab a stone from the glass tables out in the lobby. So we really appreciate people who've done that. We've spent the last day together sharing lots of information and stories and ideas, and we're hoping that that leaves you all with some new insights and inspirations. And we also know that